Hello and welcome to another episode of DudeCast TV. I'm your host, Norman Dexter. Thanks for tuning in. Today, for those of you familiar with the show Dexter, will recognize the title, Dark Passenger. So, for those of you unfamiliar, the hit TV series Dexter follows a man. He's a CSI, and he has a specialty in blood spatter. Okay? And his name is Dexter Morgan. And just so happens to, his first name is my last name. And, I watched the show, love the show. For those of you who followed it, and this isn't really a spoiler, but Dexter, from the get-go, it's shown that he has a murderous intent, to which he fulfills with a particular code that he follows where he will basically kill rapists and murderers. And he gets away with it. That's the shtick of the show, basically. He is a cop, and he is a serial killer. And he refers to this murderous intent within him as his dark passenger. Today's topic is one that I feel everyone can relate to in some facet or another. Because I feel that we all have a dark passenger. Now, it doesn't mean that we're going to go around having urges or staving off urges to kill people, unless you're in traffic. Aside from that, the idea is that there is a darkness within you. There's a darkness within me. We all have this piece of ourselves that is less than ideal. And it manifests itself in various ways. Today, I am going to tell you about what happened to me about a week ago. It's a Friday right now. First week of March is coming to an end in 2021. Last Friday, the end of February 2021. Had a good day. Nothing abnormal. Came home. Again, nothing abnormal. Did my thing for the night, my usual nightly routine. Got ready for bed. And I walked over to my bed. Right as I was about to lay down and go to sleep, I get clocked in the chin, busted in the fucking mouth with this huge spell of loneliness. Why? Because I'm going to bed alone. There's no one to share that bed with me in that moment. Which isn't uncommon. It happens. I'm sure it happens to a lot of single people. It might happen to people who are in relationships or married and their spouse or significant other just isn't home. Fact of the matter is, we all get lonely sometimes. I didn't think much of it. I just kind of, whatever. It'll go away. And I went to sleep. The next morning, there's a knock on my proverbial door. Up in here in the old noggin. Hello, darkness, my old friend. My dark passenger came to visit. Saturday morning, I had a morning ripe with clients. Was working all morning and all afternoon, had a good workout, yada, 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 right? There was something festering the whole time within me. I couldn't figure out what it was. But I know I didn't feel good. Not feel well. I didn't feel right. Something was off. All morning. But I acted like my usual giddy self at work with my clients and at the gym. No big deal. Go away. It didn't. When I was finally done occupying my head with work or a workout, I went home. And when I went home, I was alone again. And for those of you who deal with mental illness, in particular, thoughts of self-hatred, when that happens, when you are alone, and you've been feeling something festering within you, there's a series of emotions you can feel, and it can take many different forms. For me, on this day, it took the form of severe self-loathing. How severe? Well, there's a voice in your head that says, hey, you see that dirt on your shoe there? Yeah, that's worth more than you are. Yeah, all these things that have happened to you in your life, yeah, you deserve all that bad shit. You deserve None of the good. You aren't worth shit on the ground. You know, those kinds of lovely thoughts. Now, rationally, I know that's bullshit. Rationally, I can look in the mirror, see that my eyes are brown, and go, you're full of shit. What the fuck are you saying? Problem is, in that moment, that's what you feel. And it feels real. And you don't know what to do. Because it hurts. The pain you feel in that moment, the mental anguish, the emotional suffering that you go through in moments like those can feel like an eternity. So my dark passenger came to visit, and when I didn't answer the door, he busted it the fuck down. He's like, yo, I'm here. Fucking talk to me. I had no choice. I couldn't hide from this. I had to fucking address it. It was right there in my face. I could not ignore it any longer. Now, this happened once before. The time that I remember was about 3 years ago. Near the same time, actually, around the end of February, if I remember correctly. And it hit me so bad that it actually affected me at work, where my clients were like, hey, are you okay? And I said, I'm fine, I'll pass. No trigger. Not a bad day. No outside source causing this pain at all. There was no rational reason for it. It just happened. Back then, I had no idea what was causing it. Today, I have a clue. Maybe two. But back then, I remember, I was still with an ex-girlfriend at the time. She worked with me. I got her the job there at the gym with me. For those of you listening and know my history, you know who I'm talking about. I will not say her name because what I'm about to say is going to make her look bad, and that is not my intention. She is just very particular about how she shows love and how she presents herself in a relationship. It was not a match to mine, and that's what eventually led to our breakup. But she approached me at the end of the night, and she had tears in her eyes. What's going on? What's wrong? What is going on with you? Did I do something? Is there something I can do? And I said, no, you didn't do anything. No one did anything. This just happens every now and then. And by this point, we had been together almost 3 years. And she's like, you've never been like this before. What do you mean this just happens sometimes? I'm like, oh, it's happened before. I just didn't let you see it. Because I knew there would be nothing you could do, or at least nothing you would do. And she goes, what do you mean nothing I would do? I said, the only thing that I have found up to this point that can help me in these moments is if my significant other or my own mother holds me and embraces me and tells me that it's going to be okay while I just fucking unload and cry and just lose my shit into their chest. Now, me knowing that she is not a person who enjoys or even tolerates physical affection, I told her, and I'm not going to ask that of you because I know that that's not something you would be willing to give me. And she goes, yeah, I could never do that. That is so unattractive. Which, at that time, I accepted that that's where our relationship was. Now I see tremendous red flag, among many, I promise you, that went overlooked, and again, led to the end of that relationship a few months later. The reason I say that story is because there's a big difference between now and then. See, at that point in my life, I was 25, 26 years old, and I had zero self-worth to speak of. The reason I was with that woman who couldn't give me anything I needed, couldn't fulfill any of my needs, who was just effectively a warm body that I called my significant other for nearly 3 years, I changed all of who I was for her. I sacrificed everything I was as a man and as a person to be what she wanted me to be. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not something she gave me as an ultimatum. This is not something she required or asked of me. This is something I did preemptively without even speaking to her about it, because I figured, well, if I can walk on eggshells, if I can tiptoe around and make sure that I preemptively compromise on any potential issues with her, well, then there's no reason for her to leave, right? Problem is, I lost myself. And the only way you can do that is if you have zero self-worth. And when she eventually left, it shattered all of who I was as a man. And I had to reinvent and find myself. And I did. It took about 1.5 years, 2 years. But eventually I made it. And eventually I found self-worth. I know my value now. I know what I deserve. And I know where I stand. Thing is, when you have 27 years of your life, of which you've only been around for 28, me, and 27 of those 28 years, you have little to no self-worth to speak of, there's going to be some baggage with that. What is this baggage? Well, your dark passenger's about to show you. Because he just kicked down the door, put down his bags, and said, we got to talk. And this first bag that he unloaded in my lap, self-loathing. Self-loathing that said, you aren't worth shit. Every relationship you have, they pity you. You're an annoyance to them, an irritant, a fly on the wall that they wish would leave, that they wish would die and disappear. If you died tomorrow, no one would care. No one would give a flying fuck if you were still here tomorrow or the day after. Everyone in your life is better off without you. These are the thoughts that go through someone's head when they are going through an intense bout of self-loathing. These are the thoughts that rattled around in my head. And guess what? Kinda sucked. So, why do I bring this up? Why did I tell you about my lived experience? Well, because this podcast is it's becoming a lifestyle podcast where I just tell you about my lived experiences. And I give you my opinions on shit. I never want to come off as preachy about telling you how to live your fucking life, because I have no expertise in doing that. I have zero aspirations of being the next Jordan Peterson, Gary Vaynerchuk, Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, Les Brown, name a name, name a guru. I don't want to fucking be that. I am not here to tell you how to live your life. I am here to tell you about my lived experiences and my opinions and where those two intertwine. And when I am done, maybe it's something that you can relate to, you can at least be entertained by, or if I'm lucky, it'll help you realize something about yourself. And then you can take action for yourself and do something that helps you. That's the goal. But really, my reasons for doing this are quite selfish. This acts as an auditory journal for me to get my shit out into the world, as a coping behavior, a coping mechanism, as a tool for me to use, for me to learn more about myself and further my own development. So my reasons for this are quite selfish. But guess what? The thing about self-worth, that makes it okay. And that's a very fucking important takeaway to realize. Because if you don't realize that it is okay to be selfish at times, then you, my friend, may struggle with self-worth. I want you to hear that again. If you do not realize that it is sometimes okay for you to be selfish, that means you may struggle with your own perceived self-worth. Because the fact of the matter is, it's your life. You can't live your entire life for other people. I've talked on this podcast many times about how I value relationships, about how I love the people in my life, significant others, family, friends, or otherwise. Relationships are what I do my damnedest to cultivate and proliferate into the most meaningful interactions I can possibly muster. But there's a balance to that. And here's where the balance comes in. See, if you are constantly spread so thin between your obligations to those in your life, well, I'm pretty sure that's going to wear you down. Pretty sure it's going to burn you out. And if you're never doing anything for yourself, you're going to run out of gas, and then you're not going to be worth shit if they need something from you. So these people you love and care about so much that you're constantly doing all of these things for, if you want to be at all helpful to them in their time of need, you're going to need to be worth a shit. And if you never take time for yourself, guess what? You're not going to be a very stable rock for them to lean onto. No, you're just going to fucking crumble. Because you're burnt out. Because you don't have anything left. Because you never took time for yourself. There's all this bullshit talk about self-love. It's a real cute thing to say. You need to treat yourself. You need to have self-love. Self-love, just like motivation, is fucking bullshit. It is a cute thing to put on a poster. Do you know how hard it is to fucking love yourself when you hate yourself for decades? Do you know how fucking hard it is to look at yourself in the mirror and like what you see in your reflection? Do you know how difficult it is to when for years and years and years you hated what you saw in the mirror? You hated what went on in your own fucking head. Do you know how hard it is to have self-love? It's probably the most difficult thing I've ever had to deal with in my life. There's a reason I reference songs by NF like Hate Myself. Because that song, I relate to more than maybe any other lyric I've ever heard. And this is coming from somebody who's had a fucking blessed life. So, again, why am I telling you this? Well, I'm going to tell you how I addressed this problem. Because like I said a few years ago when I went through this, I didn't know where it came from. Because I didn't realize at that time I had no self-worth. Now, this last weekend when it happened, I know where it came from. When it first started, I had no idea what the fuck it was. Until I decided to sit down with my dark passenger, unload that baggage, take a look, and then talk with him about what it means, where it came from, and how I can address the issues of my past. Now that's a fun little analogy, my dark passenger showing me my issues, how I can get through them, right? What did I actually do? Here's what I did. I recorded this podcast, the one you're listening to right now. This is take 2. The first one, fucking mess. Because my mental state was not good. Quite ungood, if you will. So I'm retaping it because I want you to understand that there is a process that you can create for yourself. Not the same as mine, most likely. You can try mine. You can see if it works. Maybe it'll help. It's what works for me. Not guaranteed to work for you. But my point is, there are steps that you can take. And I haven't seen a fucking therapist to figure this shit out. I just learned this on my own. Because I took the time to sit down with my darkness, with my dark passenger, to figure out, here's what needs to happen. So here's what I did. I got out my phone, put in my headphones, and I selected 2 songs. Fallen Angel by Mass of Man. Fallen Angel by Mass of Man. And Best Rapper Ever by Tom MacDonald. Now, why would I choose these 2 songs? I'll tell you. They have profound music videos, which I watched. And Fallen Angel by Mass of Man, it's the artist talking to another person in a dark room at a table. This other person is listed as depression in the dialogue. So the artist is having a conversation with depression, his darkness, his dark passenger. And it starts off, I'll probably butcher the lyrics, but it starts off around the lines of, "Hey, depression, how you been? It's been a long time. We meet again. And then the depression answers, I've been good. The fuck you been up to, though? Lately, you look like you're unstoppable. With a very condescending tone. And from there, it just goes into the same self-loathing thoughts, where depression is just saying, no one cares if you die or live, so take some pills, cut your wrists. Who gives a shit? Those are the types of things depression is saying to the artist. And the artist starts off strong. He goes, nah, I'm good. I got this. But the problem is, depression keeps coming. And then all of a sudden, depression starts making some good points. And then the artist goes, yeah, maybe you're right. And then depression goes, you know that I'm right. And then at the end of it, the artist goes, I just wish I was dead. And at the end of the video, there's a statement about how many veterans we lose each year to suicide. And so it's this powerful image of a man speaking with his demons, with his darkness, with his dark passenger. Fallen Angels by Mass of Man. The other song, Best Rapper Ever by Tom MacDonald. Now, if you know anything about Tom MacDonald, you might know that he's a bit controversial, but it's songs like this that make me like him as an artist, because it's real. And you think with a name like Best Rapper Ever, oh, this is going to be some condescending bullshit. Not really. Again, it's Tom, the artist, speaking with his darkness, his demon, which is him self-imposed with all black contacts in, having an argument with himself throughout the video. And at first, Tom's like, yeah, you know, it sucks, but I'll be all right, da-da-da. And then the darkness, he's like, oh, you are a fucking liar. I know it. Why don't you tell everyone about this thing you did, or the fact that you have trouble with sobriety and this? And then he starts listing off all these very honest things, these very private things about Tom. He's outing himself. He's telling the audience, look at all this dark shit that I have in my life. Look at all this dirty laundry I have, the skeletons in my closet. And it breaks him down at first, but then, as the chorus picks up, as the video continues, and they get more intensely violent toward one another in the video, Tom builds his character up, and he says, you know what? I got this. I don't need you. And then Darkness, no, you do need me. Because I'm where the lyrics come from. Because I'm the one that gives you all that pain to rap about. And then Tom goes, you know what? Yeah, you're right. You do give me that. But you know what? I'm still going to do this on my own. Because I'm the best rapper ever. Something, something, something. So I listen to these two songs. I see these artists battling with their inner demons. Just like I am battling my inner demons. My dark passenger. Now, I don't know about you, but when I relate heavily to a song like that, I have me a real big cry. And that day, right over there, I curled up into a ball and gave it a good wail. I was crying, I was screaming, I was dry heaving, coughing, all in the fetal position, just rolling around. Snot just shooting out my nose, tears flowing out of my eye sockets, just letting it out. Just purging all of those feelings. When I finished, I brought out my phone and I recorded a Snapchat detailing what just happened, detailing what thoughts I was having. And I sent it to my two friends, Meredith and Misty. For those of you who are fans of the podcast, you may remember me speaking about these two friends. We are members of the Three Cunts podcast, of which we are working on recordings. It's just a problem of getting our schedules finagled together. But Meredith and Misty are two of my closest friends, both of which have had their own struggles with mental illness. And they will be the first to come out and say, this is me, this is what I contend with, how can I help? And I sent the Snapchat detailing my thoughts and what I just did with the cry and everything else, and I sent it to them. I did not ask them to call me. I wasn't asking them for anything. All I know is, I don't even know why I sent it. All I know is when I made that, and I decided to send it to them in our group chat, all I knew is I felt like I should have, and I'm glad I did. Nearly, almost immediately, Misty called me, and we talked for about a half hour, 45 minutes, and it helped. We went through it, we talked about it, and it helped. Later on that night, Meredith called me. Also helped. Talked for about a half hour. Very helpful. And then my friend Christine called me, hey, you want to come over and hang out for a little bit? And I told her what was going on. She goes, oh, well, you damn well better please you are coming over tonight. And so I did. And I went over, and I had a great time. Just a little sad, a little bit antisocial, because she had two friends over that I had just met for the first time that night. But still had a good time. And then I had one other phone call. While I was there, I just went to the bathroom, took the phone call. You know, another friend of mine checking in on me. Because I had told her what happened. And it was nice. When the night was over, I went home. And I slept. And I slept really well. I slept very well. The next morning, the self-loathing was gone. My dark passenger wasn't finished. There was another bag of luggage for me to look at. We went through the self-loathing. We went through that. That's now off to the side. The clothes are folded and put away. That was good. That was gone. Next, intense sadness. You know, those fun suicidal thoughts that rattle around in your head from now on. And I should be clear, suicidal thoughts, not urges. Urges lead to actions. Thoughts, we all have. Do not tell me you have not been driving over a bridge and thought, what if I just drove off the side of this bridge? I know you've thought of that. We all have. Same idea. Rationally, you know, you don't want to die. You don't want to commit suicide, but irrationally, right then and there, emotionally, you feel, yeah, that's a solution. That would fix everything. It sounds nice. But again, I've made this lyric reference before. NF's Hate Myself has a lyric. Suicidal thoughts come and go like guests to me. But I don't want to die. I just want to get relief. And that's what deep sadness is, and that's what it does. So what did I do? I talked with more people about it. Now, why do I keep bringing this up? Why do I keep talking to people? I called these people on the phone. I talked with these people in person or whatever. That's all I did on Sunday. Saturday was the self-loathing. The big cry. Called with the friends. Hang out with the friends. Went to bed. Sunday. The big sad. That deep sadness. Those suicidal thoughts. The more I talk about it, the more I make myself aware of my dark passenger and the luggage, the baggage he is presenting to me. The more I talk about it and bring it up, the more I present it to the world around me, like talking to you right now in this podcast, the more I normalize it. The more it becomes a piece of me. Just like the calluses on my hands form from exercising day in and day out, the more I normalize this dark passenger, this dude sitting over here in my head, saying, hey man, check out this shit. The more I normalize that guy, the more I acknowledge him as my roommate in this head, in this life that is mine until the day that I die, the more I become okay with whatever problems I have inside myself. And the more capable I become of addressing those problems. And that's what this is all about. This whole podcast, this whole episode is about me telling you my lived experience and how I worked through and processed my own emotions and developed tools to help me do so. I looked into this a little bit on my own after the fact also. It's another reason why I wanted to redo the podcast episode, because I wanted to give more than just what I went through that weekend. So I want to start with a quote. Hate is the byproduct of hurt. Your self-hate is the byproduct of thinking that you have hurt yourself by blowing a chance at getting the love you so badly want from others. Teal Swan. Pretty fucking good quote, don't you think? Does that sound fucking familiar? No, it does to me. Because goddamn it, if I don't say every time I fuck up in a relationship, do I not see that shit as a catastrophic fucking failure? What do you feel? You feel shame. You are sorry for saying sorry. You get gaslit by people. And you have a severe lack of assertiveness because of all of that. Because you feel shame for being yourself. For being remotely selfish. And you know, that's the difference between conditional and unconditional love. You don't see it? Let me reread this quote. Hate is the byproduct of hurt. Your self-hate is the byproduct of thinking that you have hurt yourself by blowing a chance at getting the love you so badly want from others. What that is saying is you hate yourself for fucking up this transaction, where at the end of this transaction, you're receiving love. That is called conditional love, not unconditional love. Accept all parts of yourself and surround yourself with people who accept you for who you are. This is the basis and the foundation of which unconditional love can grow and be built upon. You have to take care of yourself. Self-love, if you will. It's fucking important. Pay attention. Ask yourself, what parts of myself do I hate? Ask yourself that question right now. Pause this shit. Write it down in front of you as I go through this. What parts of myself do I hate? Write it the fuck down. Go through this with me. Let's see what you come up with. I'll give you mine. 2 things come to mind. I hate that I feel loneliness and that I have a longing to feel needed or loved by someone else. 2. I hate that because of my crushing desire to be accepted and loved by others, it is extremely difficult for me to be assertive in my own needs. So not only do I feel terrible about having this feeling of loneliness, a longing to feel needed, but I also hate the fact that because of this crushing desire I have to feel needed and to feel loved, I refuse to assert my needs to those around me, to let people know what I need to be fulfilled and happy. Now, if that isn't a terrible, endless negative feedback loop, I don't know what the fuck is. Next question. What do I fear will happen if I love these parts? And the simple answer for me is, I'm afraid that I'll be seen as codependent or needy by displaying my need to feel needed, that longing to feel needed. that I'll turn people off to me, that I will scare them away if I tell them that I have this need, I have this longing to be needed. So not only do I hate the fact that I have this need, and I am fearful that I will be seen as codependent if I am to fulfill that need, but also I'm terrified that if I tell someone about it, it'll turn them away from me. What benefits me from rejecting these aspects? Well, firstly, the wrong sort of people, the people who operate under the umbrella of conditional love. Well, they're gone if I accept these pieces of me. But if I reject these aspects, if I continue this negative feedback loop, guess what? All I'm getting is conditional love. And it's this endless transaction of me giving and giving and giving and never receiving. 2, it attracts those people. And it is a disservice to the right people because it is not my authentic self. So what that means is this adds to the negative feedback loop, at least for me. See, if I reject these aspects of myself that I need, if I reject those needs out of shame or whatever, I'm not my authentic self because I am not displaying my needs to those who actually want to hear them. And so all of a sudden, I'm no longer my genuine self around the people who really matter. And guess what? If that's the case, that's what's really going to turn them away from me. And so it adds to the negative feedback loop of just bringing in more and more people who operate under conditional love. What do I receive in return for pushing these aspects away? Well, pain and suffering without meaning or understanding of how to cope with or process these feelings, for one. And for two, by attracting conditional love into my life, it perpetuates a cycle of meaningless pain and suffering while actively turning me away from the people who would provide unconditional love, like I just mentioned. It's not a good time, my friends. It's quite ungood in the feels, if you feel me. What need or needs would I be meeting? Well, short term, instant gratification of feeling loved and accepted in that moment. However, it was conditional. It took something from me, and it required me to sacrifice a piece of who I am. It is, therefore, toxic in nature because it's just going to keep perpetuating negative feedback loop. That's how it works. And what do I gain by loving and accepting those parts of myself? 1, in accepting these pieces of myself and normalizing them as needs considered as okay or even supportive to both myself and those around me, I am more able to sit with and understand them. And if I'm able to do that, the better I understand and embrace these needs, the better I can address them in real time, like I did by listening to that music, telling my friends, bringing it into reality, speaking with my dark passenger and unloading that baggage with him. The more I address those needs, the more I address these needs, the more capable I become at sitting with and embracing my dark passenger. Realizing that my dark passenger is a piece of me, and like me, deserves to be loved and accepted for who he is. Who do I lose by doing this? All the shit people in my life who operate under conditional love. The ultimate red flag filter. Your dark passenger is going to be there no matter what. That darkness, it lives inside of you. It's not going to go away. It's going to live with you until the day you die. And you get to decide. Are you just going to deadbolt the door? Are you just going to run away when he bursts open that door and you run and hide? Or are you going to face that darkness head on? Now, here's the thing. It's not something for you to fight. Oh, no, no. Because fighting it, that's the self-hatred. Why? Because the darkness is you. It's a piece of you. It is a piece of your fractured psyche. And the sooner you accept that, the more capable you will be at addressing the problems it brings to you, the baggage it unloads in front of you. Sit there with your dark passenger. Go through the baggage. Go through the past. Look at the shit that has happened to you. And your dark passenger will help you embrace it. All he wants is the same thing you need. Your dark passenger, he wants that self-love. That cute quote, that's what your dark passenger needs. Give it to him. Give him everything you have needed and have not received. Love thyself. Accept thy darkness. Be your true and authentic self. That's something I've been saying for the last few episodes. That's not just the good shit. That's not just the stuff that makes you feel good in secret. No, no, no. This is the stuff that makes you feel like a steaming pile of shit also. Befriend your dark passenger. Normalize speaking to him. And you will make sure that next time he comes to visit, rather than him bursting down that door, you recognize who's at your door and you choose to let him in. And you choose to sit down and go through that baggage together. Because you realize you're both in this together as one. Because your dark passenger is a piece of you. And just like you both deserve love. Do yourself a favor and love yourself. As hard as that is, I'm pretty sure you're not going to regret trying to do so. Thank you for listening. Norman Dexter, DudeCast TV, DudeCast Podcast. Signing out until next time. Thank you, and have a great day.